Folks, it's finally here. A top 10 matchup between Indiana and Oregon out in Eugene, and huge opportunities for both squads. We talk about it today on a Locked On Crossover.
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome in. It is a Locked On crossover of Hoosiers and Ducks. I'm Jacob Goins of Locked On Hoosiers. He is Spencer McLaughlin of Locked On Ducks for the second official time this week. Third time if you want to count the Big Ten squad. And look, I'm ready for this game to get here because this is just too much of us on the airwaves. But we're excited to talk about the Hoosiers and the Ducks. This crossover episode today is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected like Indiana will do against Oregon is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward Mazda Move and Be Move. We'll make our game predictions, plus talk about what's there for the winner, for the loser, what's next after this game, key players and matchups. But Spencer, we've previewed this game all week long. People are talking about it. It's the nation's biggest game of the week. It's the Hoosiers and the Ducks.
Yeah, it's an exciting opportunity, to be sure. It's a big chance for Indiana. I don't mean that in a patronizing way. You know, they have not beaten what a lot of people see as a tier one brand in college football, and I have given them their flowers over on Locked On College Football, and my top 25 has Indiana in the top 5 because of the manner in which they beat Illinois. You can't look away or disregard Indiana if they go to Autzen Stadium and win. They would be just the second team since Dan Lanning arrived in Eugene to win at Autzen Stadium. The national champions lost at Autzen last year. It has been a great home field advantage no matter who's been the head coach, but Dan Lanning has taken that and really run with it. There have been some big games played here. Game day for Ohio State last year, game day with UCLA, how the mighty have fallen, by the way, in 2022. A big game against Utah in 2022 as well. You know, the list goes on, but this one is certainly up there. Anytime you've got a top 10 team coming to town, it's a tremendous opportunity for Oregon to bolster their resume, prove that, you know, to those who think, oh, see, Penn State's a fraud, they're not any good. Well, all right, they can't all be frauds, right? Like, if you beat 2 top 10 teams in a row, I think it would say a lot about where Dan Lanning has his program right now in year 4 after coming over from Georgia, and he's done a great job, and this would just be another boy. I think more than anything, if Oregon winds up winning this game, especially if they do so comfortably, like if they cover that 7.5 point number, win the game by 10 to 14 points, I think Oregon fans once again will just be saying, man, we got the right guy in charge.
Look, Dan Lanning is a great coach, and the fact that Oregon's been able to keep him, and I think will keep him for the foreseeable future, there's no reason for him to go anywhere, especially with Oregon now being a
He
top
turned
dog.
down the Alabama job.
Yeah.
Alabama was highly interested in hiring Dan Lanning to be their head coach. I have that on good authority, and Lanning said, we saw the video that he put out. He's good.
I mean, why would you, right? You're one of the best teams in the Big Ten, and you're in the P4 conference now. You're good to go, and that's why Oregon is such a good team, a good program, and a tough place to play. And it seems like, though, Spencer, and you alluded to it there a little bit, so many people are talking about the opportunity for Indiana, right? Indiana can go and do this and do that and earn the respect, and I do think the Hoosiers have the chance to do that, but I'm glad you brought that up, that Oregon can get a big win for their resume too, because who knows what happens to Penn State from this point on. They could be 8-4, 7-5, 9-3, who knows, right? But if you beat Indiana, the Hoosiers are still a good football team, and I think will still go on and win most of their games. This is a resume builder no matter who wins it, right?
Yeah, it definitely is. It's one that, with both teams being undefeated right now, as long as no major injuries happen or there isn't some cataclysmic fall-off.
Nice word.
Thank you. I think the winner of this game is a guarantee to the college football playoff. I think the loser is still in control of their own destiny to get there, and I think both will make it. You know, I didn't have Indiana as a preseason playoff pick. I thought they'd miss it by one game because, perhaps infamously at this point, I thought they would lose to Illinois. But I still picked them to go 9-3, and I think 10-2 with their schedule should get them into the college football playoff. So if they win this game, there's no way they're going to go 10-2. And if Oregon wins this game, I don't think there's any way that they will go 10-2 or gosh, I guess there is. College football is crazy. I never say never.
Sure.
It's just that when you look at what these teams have done, what they're capable of, and then what this win will mean for you, like that's the dual element of this to me, is it doesn't just show, what you're capable of, but it gives you that win because I think the other team is also that good that I just don't see how you could make how you could miss the playoff if, barring an injury to one of these starting quarterbacks who are both great. And I also want to say, I love this coaching matchup.
It's awesome. It's fantastic.
I think it's phenomenal. I think you have two of the 5 to 8 best coaches in all of college football, and frankly, I don't know how low Cignetti can go outside of the top 5 on the list. Indiana is playing on College game day in his second year. Billy Napier could never.
And you're talking, I think, from several aspects here, from game planning, motivation, in-game coaching, in-game adjustments. Like, he just does all the right things. And I remind people, he comes from the Saban coaching tree. He's old school, man. People make fun of his age. That's fine, but he's old school. And that's what Indiana needed. And it's clearly working, right? And you've got old school versus new school. And again, I love Dan Lanning. I think he's an incredible coach, and he's going to be at Oregon for a long time. But yeah, I'm with you. You've got two dudes going at it who are some of the best in the game of college football, and it could come down to that. It could come down to a coaching decision or a matchup here or there, which we're going to talk about in just a few moments, and all of that is coaching. But I'll remind people, Indiana's 2 losses last year against Ohio State and Notre Dame, they didn't get out-schemed. They didn't get out-game-planned or out-coached. They just got outmatched. They were out-talented. It was clear with the Buckeyes and the Fighting Irish, who played for the national title. They were just better than Indiana. This is a game this week for Oregon and Indiana. The Hoosiers are closer to Oregon than they've been against a top 10 team in a long time in terms of talent. It comes down to coaching and execution this week and on Saturday in Autzen, and I think Indiana has every chance to do that, Spencer.
It does. I still think there's a talent edge for the Ducks here.
But it's a lot smaller than people think.
I think it's a lot smaller than last year, because when you say what people think, what I assume you're referring to is those who are going to, call back in their minds to the Notre Dame game and the Ohio State game and say, see, they weren't even close. No, this team is more talented than that. That much is clear. With the guys they brought back, the guys they brought in, and just the way they've played this year. Last year's Indiana team was really good. I think if they'd played this year's Illinois team, they would have won the football game. I don't think they would have won the game 63-10. Maybe they would have only won it, 38-17 or something like that. I think that they have definitely made strides in a number of areas, particularly up front. I heard this stat from Oregon's radio analyst Mike Jorgensen earlier this week. Indiana, through 5 games, Jacob, has generated 49 tackles for loss. That's a crazy stat.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you're playing. That's a testament to the talent, the game plan, and the execution week in and week out. That's about 10 negative plays generated per game on average this year. And a lot of those came against Illinois, who is a good Big Ten team. They're not great, but they are good. I think they get blown out by Ohio State this week. But I just think that for Indiana, their defense cannot be overlooked. I think when people have a first impression of Indiana, it's the offense, because they throw the ball so well.
Yep.
And it should be. But this is not a defense that is to be trifled with. If Oregon's offense goes out in this game, Jacob, and outperforms my statistical prediction and puts up 38 points, my takeaway is going to be, man, can we just sign Will Stein to a raise now and keep him off the coaching carousel for one more year? Because I think this Indiana defense is good, but the good news for the Oregon offense, balance is the key.
Yep, and we're going to talk about that when we come back. Big-time matchups. Which side of the football has the advantage? It's a top 10 game, so it should be close. We talk about what could be the difference right after this here on this Locked On crossover of Hoosiers and Ducks. Today's Locked On crossover of Hoosiers and Ducks is brought to you by DoorDash. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered the most. Let's break it down. And I think for these two teams, Oregon and Indiana, it's hard not to talk about the quarterbacks. Dante Moore was cool, calm, and collected on the road last week at Penn State before the bye week. Same thing for Fernando Mendoza when they went on the road to Iowa, had his first interception, bounced back and threw a game-winning touchdown pass. I expect those two to have a big game tomorrow, and they sure did last week, and they delivered in a big way. And just like they delivered for Indiana and Oregon, you can also use DoorDash because they deliver on Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday that you order, stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday, keep the streak alive, and fuel your game day. Only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period runs through November 18th. This crossover episode of Hoosiers and Ducks is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So you've got NFL games coming up on this Sunday. You're able to choose any game you want. Pick a player, pick a team, pick a bunch of teams and players if you want to. However you want to do it, a full NFL slate is for you, and you can make it a little bit more interesting using FanDuel. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com right now to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Go to FanDuel.com. All right, we're back on this Locked On crossover of Hoosiers and Ducks, and we were getting into it there a little bit, Spencer, about key matchups and players who could make a difference in this game. Because let's be real, you're talking about two top 10 teams who are extremely talented in college football. It comes down to an individual player. It comes down to maybe an advantage here or there. So I'm going to toss this to you. Who's a player or maybe a position for Oregon you think they can take advantage of and maybe outmatch Indiana coming up tomorrow? Are you stewing because there's so many options? Is that what it is? Oregon's
I think I can talk myself into a number of different matchups. I don't think there's one that sticks out to me as, oh my gosh, Oregon is going to expose Indiana so much here. They're just.
See, I thought you would pick the defensive line. To be honest, that's where
I start. Like that was my inclination, but then I was like, oh, what about the secondary? They've been really, really good this year. Oh, Elijah Surratt's really good. I think the individual player matchups are fascinating, and I am going to land on what I have said is, all offseason and into the year is Oregon's best unit. It's the defensive line. And Dante Moore has played incredibly well at quarterback, but he's a player, not a unit. The best group Oregon has is up front. When you go watch that Penn State game, that was the group that won it for him. And you know what? If you're going up against a great offense like Indiana has, and they can hurt you in a lot of different ways, the best way to keep an offense in check is be disruptive up front, like Iowa was. So I don't know that there's this huge gap of, man, I think Oregon's going to have 5 sacks and 9 tackles for loss, and Indiana's running for 2 yards. No, I'm not making that particular prediction.
Okay.
I do think that if you tell me before the game, a time traveler from the future comes back and says, hey, Oregon's defensive line, they win the battle, I feel wildly confident that Oregon will win the football game. Amari Washington and Bear Alexander and Mateo Uyunglele, amongst a host of others, Tatum Tuioti and Aiden Breland.
Scares me, man. I know he's second level.
On the back end, he made the game-winning interception against Penn State. They use him like Caleb Downs is used at USC. He's that kind of talent. Nobody's Caleb Downs, but he is built in that same sort of mold that he makes plays at all 3 levels. I've loved what I've seen from Oregon safeties so far this year. So, I think you start with the defensive line and say that's a really critical matchup, because when I watch Indiana's offense, you can correct me if I'm wrong, they're at their best when they actually are really balanced, because it makes their RPO game so dangerous. When the linebackers and safeties have to respect the run, get eyes in the backfield, and then they hit you behind, boom, you can get burned for an explosive. I think that's really important. So for Oregon up front, Do I think they're better with their D-line than Indiana's offensive line? I do. Do I think they're going to make it look like the Oregon State game or Northwestern? No. I think Indiana's offensive line is too good for that. I do think it can look like the Penn State game, and that's what I want to see. For Oregon's defensive line, can you keep Indiana under 150 rushing yards? Can you make Fernando Mendoza uncomfortable in a number of spots as they did? And I talked about it at the time. There were a lot of situational moments that didn't necessarily show up on the box score as anything but Drew Aller incomplete pass. And you watch the film and go, oh, that was the defensive line. That's what I want to see from the Ducks up front in this game. They're deep, they're talented, and like Indiana, they're rested as well.
Yeah, I look at Indiana's secondary, not necessarily as the position I think that's dominant, but one that has to have a good day, because I've highlighted for Indiana folks talking about this Oregon team, 3 receivers over 200 yards and another one with 197. Yes. Oregon can spread it around and has multiple guys good enough, and all 4 of those guys have several touchdown catches on the year too. Oregon can pick their poison, and Indiana's good in the secondary, and D'Angelo Pond, your All-American corner, is going to be playing in this game tomorrow, which is huge news that we learned earlier in the week. That's a huge upgrade. He didn't play against Iowa. Yes, Spencer.
Yeah, I wanted to make a note on that about D'Angelo Pond because dude's a stud at corner. Ponds, sorry.
Yep.
Not.
Look, I know you're thinking about you're a Duck. You think about one pond. You don't go to different ones. You stay home. You stay where you're
one pond. You got the home pond.
I got it. Yeah. You
one pond.
Don't stray away from the pond.
Yeah, D'Angelo Ponds, beg your pardon, probably going to see a decent amount of Decorian Moore in this game, and I'm sure Indiana fans.
Yep.
Yeah, I love this matchup because Decorian Moore. One of the matchups we talked about going into Penn State was, hey, A.J. Harris is over there, and not only will he be drafted in the first or second round, he could get pulled up like a AAA baseball player to an NFL roster and probably go start. And guess what? Decorian Moore had 7 catches for 89 yards at Penn State in a game where the Ducks scored 17 points in regulation. And you kind of touched on this. The balance Oregon has is tremendous. Malik Benson was quiet against Penn State, did have a 4th down reception to move the chains. Gary Bryant had a big day. Those 3 guys with Kenyon Sadiq, legit weapons all over the field. But if you want to get down to a 1v1 that I'm excited to see, on that side of things, it's Pons against Decorian Moore. And on the other side, Brandon Finney, the true freshman, against Elijah Surratt. That's popcorn material, man.
Yeah, which is why Indiana's defensive front has got to get after Dante Moore in this Oregon offense, because if you give him time, he's too good. Even as a freshman, he's too good. He showed it against Penn State. He showed it against lesser competition, too. That's why, not just at the front level, but I'm talking guys like Aiden Fisher, your All-American linebacker. You got to get pressure on him. Even if it's not a sack, even if it's not a TFL, just put a little strain on him. Get him outside of the pocket where he's good, Spencer, but how good would you grade Dante Moore when he's not setting his feet and making a play, at least up to this point in the season? He's made some good throws, but with a ton of pressure on the run, do you expect him to make those plays in a game like this?
9.5 out of 10 confidence level for me, Jacob.
Okay.
I think he's been unflappable so far this year. And, the sack. Nice. I didn't even, that was unintentional. But Jacob's on top. Jacob's on top of it today. I'm here for it. So, Dante Moore's been so good for a lot of different reasons. But, one of them is the sack numbers. Look up right now how many times Oregon, I didn't memorize it coming into this show. I should have. But anyways, the number of times Oregon has conceded a sack this year has been pretty few and far between. They actually haven't gone backwards a whole heck of a lot in general, which is it still 1?
Yep.
Yeah, so Dante Moore's
stat, yeah.
Dante Moore has been sacked 1 time this year. It's against Oregon State. That is not a reflection of Oregon's dominance up front. Don't get me wrong. I love what I've seen from the offensive line. They have been good. But sacks are a quarterback stat as well. You hear this with Caleb Williams in the NFL. Holds on to the ball too long, doesn't get rid of it, tries to dance, runs himself into sacks. Okay, Dante Moore isn't doing any of that. He is playing at a really high, mature level that's allowing his physical traits to come through. And I think that the mesh between Oregon's O-line and Dante Moore has been darn near seamless. He's getting the ball out on time with good reads. They're protecting well enough. And then when they do get beat, which has happened, he's mobile enough to get away, and he's protected the ball in the pocket. You go look at the game-winning touchdown against Penn State. It's a naked boot. He's got denied Dennis Sutton, an NFL D end in his face. What does he do? Just sidesteps him to the left, 2 hands on the ball, keeps it away, delivers a frozen rope, and Oregon goes to win the game. I'm confident in Dante Moore doing literally anything right now. He hasn't shown me anything since he started playing for Oregon that makes me think, I'm worried about this. I got nothing to be worried about. Dude can make every throw on the field, and between the ears, what he needed to do this year, he's done so far. The game has slowed down for him, and he's the Heisman betting favorite for a reason.
There's a lot of factors in this game. It's Oregon and Indiana, number 3 versus number 7. I want to talk quickly about the offense in the final segment for the Hoosiers, and then we make our predictions for the Ducks and the Hoosiers right after this here on this Locked On crossover of Hoosiers and Ducks. This Locked On crossover of Hoosiers and Ducks is brought to you by Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, they move culture, and keep moving the game forward. And more so looking ahead to tomorrow on a moment that can move the game forward, or a player, or a play, or just anything that can move it forward. Well, would be Curt Cignetti and the stone cold coach that he is, and have the Hoosiers ready to go and not give in to Autzen Stadium, where apparently it never rains, but it's supposed to tomorrow? Or is it Oregon, who just has a flashy offense with a freshman QB? Could he be the one to move the game forward for the Ducks tomorrow? We're going to find that out, and Mazda is the same way. So when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, final segment on this Locked On crossover of Hoosiers and Ducks.
Sorry, I thought you had another ad read to do. That's why I was looking down.
I just figured you were doing final research.
I forgot this is Friday, not Thursday.
That's great.
That probably looked really funny to people on YouTube. They're like, "What's he looking at?" I thought
I was going to ask you if we leave that in or not, but we're leaving it in.
We're leaving it in.
Absolutely. That's raw stuff right there, ladies and gentlemen. Back in YouTubing stuff that you just saw. I just figured, taking a call, researching, doing whatever.
No, I was just looking at Twitter.
I mean, as we all do in our free time. 60 seconds, Spencer? Really? It's all right. Anyway, Oregon and Indiana.
I just couldn't listen to you talk anymore.
It has been a long week. It's been a long week, man. We've done 3, 4, 8 of these. I don't know. I can't keep up. But
still not as many as Seiko and I did.
Well,
he still talks to me. I'm really happy about that.
He's a good dude. He
is. He's a good guy.
He holds up his end of the bargain.
Anyway, back to the game.
Anyway, back to your regular schedule programming. Indiana and Oregon, 3-7, 7-3. However, it's a top 10 matchup in Autzen Stadium tomorrow at 3:30.
Yeah, just to be clear, that's not their combined record going into this game.
No, what if that was the score, though? Could you imagine?
As long as Oregon wins, I'm happy.
Fair. I do want to talk about the Indiana offense very quickly before we make our final predictions and then kind of what happens with you win or a loss here. Indiana's offense doesn't seem to be talked about a whole lot this week from folks outside of myself and Indiana people. And people are forgetting that Fernando Mendoza has been, yes, to Autzen before, but in big P4 road games as well. And you're coming off a bye, and so is Oregon. People aren't talking about that enough either. This offense did not look good against Iowa. They got punched in the mouth time and time again, and Fernando Mendoza took a couple of shots as well. If you get in that second and third level of the Oregon defense, that's where Indiana's offense thrives. Elijah Surratt, Omar Cooper, EJ Williams, and look out for the tight end plays as well, Spencer, whether it be Noah or Riley Nowakowski or Holden Stays. Either one of those could be an X factor here. We saw that against Illinois, and I think Indiana could bust things out with that as well. But given all of that, we've got all the context, we've got it all out. It's Friday, the game's tomorrow. It's time to make our picks. We know who we're picking, but Spencer, more so on why. I'll toss it to you, my friend.
I just wanted to first point out, you sounded like the announcer on the Key and Peele East-West Bowl when you said, don't forget about the tight end. I thought you were about to drop Ibrahim Moises and Hingle McCringleberry.
Those videos were so great.
So great. They're
construction noise.
They're they're timeless classics. But no, I like Oregon to win in this spot. I said before the year I thought the Ducks would go 11-1. I thought they would lose to Penn State, and I said all offseason, man, if they win that game, that's a perception shifter for me. And I'm sticking to my guns on that. I'm not walking it back after Penn State lost to UCLA. I just think Oregon got into their heads and they were playing that game twice, and that's ultimately why they suffered one of the most embarrassing upsets in the last several seasons in college football. There have been some other notable ones. Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame and Vanderbilt beat Alabama, but I like Oregon in this spot. I think it's lower scoring. I like both defenses here. The thing that stands out to me about both these teams, Jacob, on both sides, I feel like they're balanced. I watch Indiana. I know they've got playmakers up front. They've got a great linebacker. We talked about Pons at defensive back. And I watch Oregon. I feel the same way. Bryce Betcher's your leading tackler. Your defensive line's incredible. Your secondary's been playing awesome. And then I flip over to offense, and I see a quarterback that's playing well in Dante Moore. I've got running backs who I love in true freshman De'Aaron Hill, Noah Whittington, Jordan Davison in short yardage, like Jaden Lamar sprinkling in some carries in there. I love what I've got a wide receiver. You've got Kenny Sadiq at tight end. The offensive line has played well. The balance, I think these teams are kind of mirror images of each other. I just think Oregon's a little bit better. I like the Ducks 27-17. They beat the Hoosiers, cover 7.5.
I'm with you on the lower scoring. I am. I think the defenses will be the highlight of this game, which means which offense can make a play or two, which offense turns it over, and the other team convert on that. And I told you earlier in the week, special teams could be something that plays a huge factor here. And as much as I want to pick Indiana in this game and how awesome it would be and how incredible of a program-shifting win this would be, the Hoosiers are close, but I don't think we're there just quite yet. I like 24-20. That's the score that I'm stuck on, but I like Oregon to score and hold off Indiana late, but that's good enough for me for now. I don't want that to come off as a loser mentality, and I hope it doesn't. Indiana going on the road on the national stage with College Game Day and then this game being televised on CBS and running with an Oregon team that might be the second best in the country behind Ohio State right now, that says a ton to me and gives me a bunch of confidence with the back half of the schedule that is much easier than the front half. So I'm going 24-20, but I am going to pick Oregon to pull this thing out because they are the favorites for a reason.
Yeah, one more thing, how I just kind of thought about as you were making your prediction there. For this game, if Oregon wins, it keeps the train on the tracks for this season. If Indiana wins, they're getting a new train.
Boom. I love that. Upgrading, if you will.
I'm going to leave that as the last thing that I say on this show before the game.
I like that.
That was good. That was
good. That was
I
solid.
liked that.
And it's true. It's absolutely true because this would be one of the biggest wins in the program's history.
I think it would be the biggest.
Probably. Yeah. Being on the road.
I mean, legitimately, what would be bigger? They hadn't had a double-digit win season before last year.
Right.
So that was obviously huge. But, I mean, in terms of caliber of opponent that you've beaten,
yeah,
it's probably Illinois. And by the way, I don't throw shade on that game. I've been a defender of Indiana after that game against Illinois when people were trying to throw dirt on, Illinois is not good. I'm like, no, I'm not playing this game. I know Illinois is a good team.
The fact that Illinois backed it up with a win over a good USC team compared to what my argument has been Penn State.
Wonder who predicted that?
UCLA. Yeah.
Me.
I think I did too, actually.
I had Illinois. Winning that game. But
you also had Illinois in the game before that too, just in case people forgot.
Anyway, train on the tracks, new train. Can't wait.
It's going to be awesome. Oregon and Indiana, a top 10 matchup. It's going to be fantastic. And both of our shows will have reactions, we'll have thoughts, we'll have comments on Locked On Ducks and on Locked On Hoosiers. And we appreciate all of our everydayers for being here, tuning in all week long, all weekend long, and into next week as well. Make sure you're subscribed on both YouTube channels. Leave your score predictions down below on the YouTube shows. We want to see and hear what you have to say. I promise Spencer and I are friends off camera. We are off camera, off microphone. microphone. We do.
Not for long once I bring back the pillow.
No, not pillow talk. We went almost 29 minutes without it, but we got to go. I got to get him off camera, and I don't know how to do it. So we got to get out of here. Subscribe to us, follow us, do whatever you can to never miss an episode of Locked On Ducks and Locked On Hoosiers. We are back for normal episodes at some point on our channel. So until then, Hoosier fans and Duck fans, stay safe, and we'll talk to you later.